is I'm going to do a little painting on here's the cake. And this is FlexFrost, made in different ways and painted, and then in different silicone forms, not just using it for lace. So I have already watered down a sheet of green FlexFrost, and I took one in white, and I watered it down and put it in bowls, and then I colored the white with red. I'm going to use a brush to paint it in to my silicone mat, and then put it in the oven for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to move on to a flower. And I am going to add some things, which is Tylose, to the FlexFrost mixture, to show you how you can bring it up to have wonderful fantasy flowers on your work. So I'm going to bring the camera down, and hopefully you can see. Also, if we get on to the small flower that is on there, I'm going to use Simi Isomalt to attach the petals. It'll be in clear, but this is a new color that Sydney Galprin and family have, and it's called Galactic Dream. But she has every color under the rainbow and works in coordination with Icing Images, and I love all their products. So that's what I work with.
Hey, Jessie Anne, can you tell us a little bit about FlexFrost, what it is, what it does, just generally, so people know the differences between that and the other papers we have?
Yes, it is a edible paper. It does not feel like paper. It feels like material. And also it comes with just plain white, plain off-white, I think. There's two different, and it comes in black, green. I have gold, I have silver. You can make bows with it. You can do ruffles for a dress on maybe one of your cakes to ruffle around, as in, I took some silver and I just pleated it here, and you can do that around your cake or on your dolls that you make from gum paste or Isomalt. I have, at the end of this, I have all of the different ways that I formed them into silicone forms. So you can use it in many, many, many different ways. Some of the times you do have to let it dry overnight, and in some of the molds that you would have to do that. I also use it in plastic molds, and I'll show you that. Just I won't show you as demoing it for you, but I will show you what I've done with it. But I could say that I could do 22 different things with FlexFrost. So to answer your question, Deborah, it's not just a material. It's very edible. It tastes like vanilla. It tastes very well. It also goes really nicely when you spray it with this potion, a little bit extra on it, and you can dissolve it with water. And I will show you that after we paint this first layer on this mat. So what I'm going to do with the mat, I'm going to do I'm going to paint in the images of the flowers. You can also pipe it. Like here I have, I'll show it to you in a little bit. I have it piped out to say happy birthday, and it sets up overnight. And when you peel your FlexFrost off of the acetate on the back, you can use those pieces of acetate to pipe on, or do you make transfers like people make with royal icing. This can be done, and it sets up nicely, and it's very flexible as in material. And I will show you that as I tear it off a piece and dissolve the white and the black. This, I've already dissolved the green and the red because I had to mix some colors in. The colors that I use in it are from Semi Color Splash, and this is the red. And if you go on semicakes.com, you can go into her store and find that. I'm not sure whether you sell that, but that's where you find it.
And it's on sale.
It's on sale. Yes, I think it is on sale. It's wonderful, and the white, you can't get a better white or airbrush colors than this. I use it in all of this tonight. So with any more questions, I'm going to bring the camera down so I can show you this mat and then paint away. And I may only paint half of it because it takes up a little while. So I'm just going to lean this down. Depends if I'm allowed to go overtime or not. Woo! This Deborah knows me pretty well. I can get going at 100 miles an hour. Okay, so this is the mat, and I'm going to bring it close to you so you can see it. You see how it's got the flower arrangements in there? Right here. There's little flowers. I'm going to paint those red. Some people pipe it in, and I find for tonight it's too thick. So here I have FlexFrost, and I used Semi Splash, and it's just a real nice consistency. And if I wanted it to be a little more waterier, I use after I've wet it down, and I will show you the wetting it down, but I add a little more water I use pipettes so that you don't go past what you want. So
when you mixed it up, how much water did you use, or did you just dip it? Because I know there's different methods.
Well, what I do is I usually run it under the tap, and I use a lukewarm water. And then I take the sheet and I put it into the bowl. And on the next layers that I put on this, I'm going to show you how I do that. Some people like me just take it wet under the tap and put it on here. Here, I put water in a bowl and I put it in there and mixed it. So I'm going to use this brush here, and I'm going into here where the little flowers are and just paint in some of the petals so that you can see this done. And the middle of the petal needs less than you would with the outer parts. Bear with me. I did this and I painted the whole mat. I timed myself in 9 minutes. So if we just do half the mat, it'd be fine because I have some already to show you. The center part of the indentations, when you're doing and using FlexFrost, you might leave it a little longer in the oven, but be aware of that. The more water, too much water in doing this could crack your image as you're pulling it out. So I'm just going to paint in these flowers, and if you have any more questions, FlexFrost is, for me, a product that can be a dress, it can be a crown, it can be made into all images that I would have and demos that I would have used for, let's say, smart sheets. I mixed smart sheets in with this yesterday and put in a little 2 drops of glycerins. I had some leftovers. And so I mixed the two together to see just exactly what would happen. And I made beautiful lace with it. So, and it was nice and firm so that I didn't have to add any tyros. So what I do mostly with Deborah's products is I take them, I read the ingredients to match up and make a new type of paper or whatever with it. But the first thing I do with it is I read the ingredients. And what's missing out of one ingredient, the other ingredient might have it. And so therefore they will mix together, they will go together. So it makes it really handy for each and every person to use up their scraps. And this green that I have here that I'm going to paint in the leaves, it's just all done with scraps. So that's why I want to show you the watering of the next ones, because so is this red done with scraps. Which, if you take into mathematics, if you have enough scraps, it would be equal to one sheet. And my sheets are 8 and 0.5 by 11. And it does have a weight on there, but right now I've got my head down, and I would give that to you if anybody needs it. But you see how easy this is? And I'm going to put this in the oven at 170. I use that just the same as a hydrator. And it in the testing of this, or when I'm doing it, I actually only takes about 10 minutes for it to set up. And then I'm going to put a layer of white over top of it and let it sit in the oven for another 10 minutes to dry. And then I'm going to put another layer over top of that in black. And in between, I'm going to make these and wire them for you and show you how that's done and put that in the oven. And then I'm going to pull them off and make a flower. And the little circles in the other flower, what I did is so that it would be, they would turn and form, which is a fantasy flower. It's not a real one. So we're just going to do, I think that's just about enough. So I'll just pull the mat off. And just any brush, but when I'm doing this, the reason I'm brushing instead of piping is that it takes less time to dry. And, we're on a demo. And so, but if you ever want to pipe with this, it's very good to pipe with. And I'll show you my happy birthday piping that I did as we go along. So what I'm going to do with this now, I'm going to just put that aside. And I'm going to bring in the green. And it's just a little watery. This green has been made from my leftover scraps. And, I seal them up and put them into a Ziploc bag. And then I just reuse them. Sometimes, it will take a little longer with the scraps if they've been exposed too long to the air. But you realize, hopefully, that that's okay. It takes on water very, very well. I'm just going to go in here and finish this little flower here because I didn't do it.
So you mentioned before you're going to go show the traditional way just to make FlexFrost so they can see how easy the lace is?
Yes, coming right up. In a couple of
just
minutes.
making sure.
As soon as this goes in the oven, it's for the white that I put over top of this. And also for the black that goes over top of that. And it's very easy to use. It is so easy that you can make dresses out of it, bows for your hair, around hair bands. You can make
you don't put it in your hair.
If you wanted to, and you had pieces left over, and your children or young people are here, they start to make them on cookies. They make them on cupcakes. They just go for it. They just think it's great because, and then they also like to take a great big bite out of it to see if it tastes good, and it tastes wonderful. It's vanilla. So there we have some flowers and some leaves. This is going to be in the oven for about 10 minutes. And within that 10 minutes, I'm going to take the red and I'm going to add some of the Tylose to it to make it a little more dense.
Awesome. So for those of you who are watching, what she's doing is she's I don't want to say advanced because they're not harder, but she's jumping to different applications, way to use it other than the traditional way. And so she's doing that because she's going to do things in layers and she needs things to dry in between. So now she's going to go ahead and she's going to put it in the oven. You don't have to put it in the oven if you don't want to. It can stay dry at room temperature. You can put it in a dehydrator. The first time you do it, though, make sure you pay close attention to it because it can dry faster than you think it will, become too dry. So Jessie Anne said she knows her oven and she's already practiced that. But room temperature works very well as well if you're in a rush. So it all depends on your environment.
If you have time, you can just leave it set out overnight, or you can room temperature that step that I just did, and in maybe half an hour or 30 minutes or maybe a little longer. Down here in Southwest Florida, I have to use the oven most times because Dave likes to open the doors.
Yeah. So Kathy asked, she said, I never realized you could pipe with it. It seems it would be more durable than royal icing transfers. Is that an accurate assumption?
Again, say it.
She wants to know if it's when you're piping with it, if it's more durable than royal icing transfers.
It can be. What I do to it is I do to it what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to take half a teaspoon. This is a teaspoon measurement. If you don't want to measure, that's okay. And this is Tylose, and I'm just going to put that in there. And I'm going to bring this to the consistency that I would like to have it. And most of the edible papers, you can make it into a paste. But this, with FlexFrost, is genius. And you probably have seen on cakes where they use a spatula and they make flowers on the side of a cake with, could be on buttercream. You see the consistency of that? So I'm making it, and that's only half a teaspoon, just half a teaspoon with one sheet. I used a little bit with the painting, but it becomes a nice paste. And if I had a spatula here, you know how on the side of a cake you can do the flowers with the spatula? You can also do that with this. You add a little more water with it, and it's just like, the reason I'm going into all this is so that you use up the scraps, because when you cut the other to make a bow or tails for a bow and stuff like that, you do have scraps left over. So for this, I'm going to use this. I'm going to take a blob and put it there, blob here.
So Tylose is basically used to make things thicker. Is that a correct statement?
It can make things drier. I use it in gum paste and in my postage, just in case, depending on what you're using it for. But if I want things to dry quickly, and you know me, I like things to go fast. And so now this has just only one sheet with water. And if you want it to dry even faster, you can put a little bit more. The more you put in, though, you stand the chance that it could crack when you're drying it. So I'm just going to press this in here. And I have some of the wires cut, so I can show you. Now you can use any petal image. I just have these, so and I really like them because they're fantasy. They're not a real flower petal, but I like to make things into things that. So I'm just going to scrape that off, make them into different things so that you can see how you can do. Okay, so now I have wires that are cut, and I keep them on a magnet so they're not flying all over the place. You see that? And because this leaf is kind of on a slant, I'm going to take my wire and I'm just going to bend it a little bit and press it into that. Okay? And get another one, bend it a little bit, press it into that, use my fingers, and I have gloves on because I'm using red. And then I'm going to bend that a little bit. Take my spatula again. I'm just going to go over the top of it just in case it doesn't want to stay there. And I'm going to put this in the oven. And before we're finished tonight, we'll pull these out. These might take a little longer, and the reason for it, it's a little deeper than what I was using on the other. But you can just use straight up without any tylose in these silicone molds, and leave them sit overnight, and you can pull them out. But we're in a demo, so I'm going to do it quickly.
Okay, so something I want to bring up about mats. There's lots of different quality of mats out there. When you're using Sugarveil, you want a mat that's going to have continuous connections. So where things don't connect, it's going to fall off. So like a donut hole, if the hole will fall out of that donut if you kind of look at it that way. So those are the things you got to keep in mind. Now, the deeper the mat, the more Sugarveil you're going to, or not Sugarveil, those are Sugarveil mats that we have because of the quality. We love the quality of them. But the deeper the mats, the more FlexFrost you'll need to use. And if it's too thin, then it may not grab well enough. So you take your time and make sure that you fill in all the gaps and every mat you use.
So this is a white vanilla sheet. Excuse me, got a little mark on there. And I'm going to show you how I use a lukewarm water. And I'm prepping these because I'm going to use it on that mat that I have a bowl, I have a spatula, and right over here in the corner. Now I have a little red on my hands, but I've wiped them off. And a little red won't hurt, a little pink won't hurt. So if you see, this is acetate paper, and I recommend that you don't throw that out because you can do piping on that or other images with FlexFrost. Now, isn't that gorgeous? Just look at that. Ah. You can take it. I got gloves on, so remember that. Be merciful. You can make skirts. You can make bows. Bring them together. You don't have to have it as full as that. When we had COVID, I did showpieces that had people's faces on it and had masks on it. So what I'm going to do is put this camera over here to see my sink. This is my bowl. I don't like it too warm. So all I'm going to do with this is go like this, run it under the water, just like that. Pull it up, put it in my bowl. And dry off my hands. I'm going to bring her back underneath here. And you'll see that there's a little bit of liquid in there. If that's too much for you, you can just take a little bit, drain it off. This is going to be the next coat on the mat. So just wait a minute or two. Then the other one that I want to use is black. So I do exactly the same thing. Now, if you were using a mat, such as this mat, let's say, and you were making lace or a crown, I make crowns from this. And what I do is I double over until it's nice and secure. And sometimes I put a little tylose in it. But I just wet the sheet and lay it on here and let it rest for a few minutes and take my spatula and go over it and lay it in. And I save the leftovers. So you don't always have to put it in a bowl unless you really want to. So this is the black. And I'm prepping these now because I want them I'm just going to tear it off just like I did with the white. Save the acetate. Now this is like okay to sit in that water. I'm going to go over here again and just run it under the water. And remember that you don't want to do the black first because it could get onto your nice little white. So that's why we're doing the black last, because it is a color. And so it's just going to rest there a couple of minutes. And I'm going to take this and mix it in. And my oven is now blinking. And that means that the first part of this process for that first mat that I painted in is pretty much done. But I'm mixing this in first because this is the next layer that goes on that mat. And if you see a few little lumps and things like that, just be patient. It just melts down. If you don't want to, while you're spreading it out, it definitely will get mixed in. And it's okay if it's beeping a little longer. It's not going to, can you hear it beeping?
Yeah.
Where are you, Chef? Oh, we should be doing this. So I mix that in there, and then I'm going to take the black, and you'll notice the black is a little tighter than the white was. The reason I did that was because it's going to be the last coat onto the mat. And I won't have to use this whole amount because we only did part of the mat. So I'm just going to check it, make sure it's dry. And when you take these out, they might be a little warm. Dry. And so we're just going to go over that. And what it does is it seals it in. See? And you could leave it out and air dry it if you wished. Have a clean spatula. And I just go over it, clean it off, save the extra. Maybe I'll put some down here so you can see it just on. See that?
So pretty.
It is pretty. But all of this other mat where the butterflies are, you can do the exact same thing. It's just not embedded. You just paint it in or pipe it in. And I will pipe some of this for you. I'm going to have a bag over there, so I'm saving that white so I can show you how to pipe that. Now I'm going to put it back in the oven. I'm using the oven because dehydrator, this mat won't fit in the dehydrator. So that's set for 9 minutes. So I'm just going to let that dry. And then in the white here, somebody was asking about piping. So I have a disposable bag in here. And this to me is just a tad too watery. So what can happen is it can spread. Now also you can use it in like pearls. You put it into a pearl mold and you don't have to add any Tylose or anything to it. But I'm going to add some Tylose in here, and then I'm going to show you some making of the flower. And I'm also going to pipe with this for you. Now, usually I let this sit overnight. I don't bother putting it in the oven because usually if I'm going to do this, like say happy birthday or I do my name or whoever's name I'm doing. And if I think that's too tight, I just take my pipette, use a little pipette. And the great thing about this, I just control the amount of water that goes in there until it comes to a consistency that I like. I'm just going to go with this and pipe it out for you, just because I've done it before. Just going to cut a little notch in the bottom.
Kelly wants to know if the Tylose affects the flavor.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have any flavor in it. And if you wanted to put more flavor in, other than, I don't find it affects it, but you should maybe take a little snippet of it. Tylose never does it on your flowers that you're making. I hope you can see this. I don't have anything black. Okay, so let's go. Now the dot will harden, and you just use that. And let's do Anne. I got old hands, so if they're shaking while I'm punching this out, don't worry about it. Not because I'm nervous. There we go. So yes, and you can use that also, let's say, if you have an image underneath it and you just want to use it like a transfer, it sets up overnight. And I'm going to put your mat over here. If I put that in the oven, it'd probably be dry in no time. But I do have a happy birthday here somewhere that I did, and I will get to it shortly. So also with this, I have a mat here. That does circles. And that's where these little circles came from to make this little flower that we're going to make. And what I did with this, I left it in the oven longer, and it just pops out of these circles. I also added a little more Tylose than what was. And what it can happen is after they dry, they curl up for you. So you're going to get a fantasy flower. This mat, you can also use for Isomalt if you want. You would have to be very, very careful when you do. Or you could also make small macarons. But I use it mostly for what I'm doing here. And it is not the same silicone quality as what Simi has, but it's just something that I picked up along the way. I can't say where I got it, but it's out there somewhere if you were looking for circles. So I am going to show you whatever I did. That's happy birthday.
Nice.
Piping. And the reason I put this on here was it's from the other part. And if you're doing, let's say you're doing, let's say macarons or something on a plate, and you wanted to decor your plate, like you see, you can set these down like a doily. Set your desserts beside it. My doily mat has come up, disappeared. So I would have done doilies that way. They're little rounds, and it's in a big mat. So we had some insulation done into our attic out there where my studio is, and things are all packed away somewhere. So that's what I would do with nice desserts on a plate, and or like a tea party, different things. And this is double coated, just like you see what I'm doing with the other mat. Happy Birthday is just piped left overnight on one of the acetate papers, and it just comes up. It's a little wonky because I did it in a hurry, so I'd have it for tonight.
So that is like, if that was royal icing, when you picked it up like that, it wouldn't have been able to bend like that, correct?
Correct.
Wow.
So you can bend it. You like I wanted to show you on this here.
Oh, dang.
This is what I'm doing. I'm going to put together this flower. That's what these are for you. And I made little centers out of the black. I just dipped them in there and let them set for a little while, and then formed them on the end of a wire, and then wrapped it in floral tape. This is the little flower that I made from the round mold, and I'm going to do that. I'll get Dave to warm up some Isomalt, and I'll do that for you right now. These are the leaves that I just dusted that are out of the same mat as these. And so I'll show you the consistency of that right now.
Yes, sir.
You see, it's very bendable. You're able to use it. And then if it's wired like this is, it's just got a little bit of a wire in, as you saw that when I constructed them, and you can bend it like this. That's FlexFrost. It's only got a very small amount of tylose in it, and I could put that in my mouth right now and eat it. It doesn't. It has the same flavor as your FlexFrost. And if you notice here, I made some bugs. And that's the butterfly. I painted it with a little bit of the black, and then I just airbrushed it with a little bit. Oh, let's see which way we go here. And another one there, and another little one down there. I have some molds I'm going to show you with that. Our bell is dinging right now. I'm going to check to see that we have that nice and dry for you.
I thought that was Dave making noise again. Dave's beeping.
I'm going to leave this mat in here just a little bit longer. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to put together, which everybody's probably seen. Okay. So these are some of the little circles. Yeah, thank you. This is...
We need to adjust the camera a bit. There we go. Dave, get back to your job. This
is Simi Isomalt, and I really like to use it to glue things down, and all the little images that are on that cake are put on. A lot of people ask, will it stick to fondant? Well, that's why I stuck those on there with Isomalt. So we're going to make a little flower out of all these little rounds. And the reason that they curled was I let them extra dry so that they would curl. Now, remember, this is not botanically correct. It is a fantasy flower. So I'm just going to pick some. I'm going to put a little, just going to dip it in a little bit of Isomalt and stick it on the side there. Now I'm using cold spray, but you can also use a fan, but time-wise, I'm just dipping it in here. I know you can't see it because it's clear. Just going to give it a little spray so I don't burn off my fingers.
It's always a good thing.
Just a little rounds. And I'm just kind of mimicking flower petals.
Susie Q says, Dave's a rock star.
Okay, so you could go that way. And then I'm going to add a few more at the bottom down here. Turn it upside down. And you have to be very careful. I don't usually use gloves with a cotton glove inside if you're just starting out. And if you're not, you can use just the gloves that I have on. But I would recommend that you don't put your fingers anywhere near that unless you've cooled it off a little bit. And this has not been colored at all. It's just an old sheet actually that I had scraps, and I cut it where I melted it down and put it into the bowl and put a little Tylose in it. You know something? I think my brain goes faster than my tongue.
Yeah, I know that.
It's supposed to be a joke. So you see what we're getting here? Now, what else could you use? You can also use Little Honey's glue. It's just that I want it to go quickly. So now I'm just going to put a center in here. And this one's really bent, so I think it would fit in there pretty good. Just down there. And we put another little one over here. Another real curly one. Just like that. We got a center. I'm just gonna, this is cold spray in case anybody, you don't recommend that on showpieces, but putting things together like this. So we're gonna take this and take it out of my way because you don't want it to spill and burn myself. So I set it to the side. Set these to the side. I'm going to get this just a little bit. This is, these little beauties are from this Sweet Chalet, and they're just gorgeous in the center or for anything. And I might get Dave to open this for me because sometimes it's, oh, I got it. And I have a little spoon that one of the contractors bent for me. You can buy these online. I'm just going to take a little Isomalt and put it into the center of this. And these are heat resistant. Do you sell these tools, Deborah?
Wow, I could make that tool.
Yeah, you can make it. And so that's the center.
Marissa, can you put the link up for those little jewels that she's using there?
Yes, for Sweet Chalet.
Yeah, she's on right now.
So now I'm going to check the one in the oven, and then shortly I'll put, well, I'm going to do the wire right now because it's, I've got some Isomalt. So what I'm going to do is dip this in this wired, covered wire in Isomalt, and then I'm going to stick it to the back.
When Jessie was using Isomalt, I know we have a lot of people on here that may not know what Isomalt is, or may know what it is and may not brave enough to try it. It's not that hard, guys. You work with an oven. I asked her to go ahead and put up some classes that she has for that online. So hopefully she'll throw that link up there.
So there we have a little fantasy flower, the same that I put on the cake. And what I did that with, and you can do it in all different shapes when you're making them, and they're called fantasy. If you're in a competition, please don't say they're like this flower or that flower unless you're doing it correctly. That's just a fantasy flower. So we're going to take the black now and put it over top of this. It's nice and dry, see? And I'm going to do a second coat. And the more coats that you put on this, the stronger it will be for different presentations that you want to use it for. I could put a third coat on it. I could put a fourth coat on it. But it's really so easy to use that people think it's difficult. It's not. Kids in the kitchen used it, all children. And you do save your scraps because they come in handy for all of this. Now I'm just going to take that and set that back in the oven and let it dry. And then I'll peel it off for you. And that's what I put on the cake here. And how I put it on the cake. Now let's say that you're doing an order and you wanted to do this on your cake and it's buttercream. It works very well with buttercream. You don't have to wait if you've had your cake in the fridge and it's set up and you want to put it on there at the last minute. You just wait a couple minutes after you take it out of the fridge and a little dampness never hurts. A lot of dampness does. So I'm just going to see if these will come up. These are the ones that we put together that are exactly the same as the other flour that I put on there. And we're coming up to 5 minutes before 8. Would you like me to put the flour together?
Yes, we would. Right, guys?
Okay, so I'm going to wait until this cools off a little bit because it's a little hot on my hands. So we'll put that over here. I'm going to take these over here and just put this flour together for you. And what you need is you need some floral tape. And this is going to be challenged because I've got gloves on. So you stretch the tape out. This is the sticky side. I'm just going to take this. I'm just going to loop that over just like that so it's attached. Then I'm going to take this, set it in here. And I'm going to wrap that floral tape around there.
So Martine asked about the different colors for each layer. You'll see when she lifts it off, you'll understand why she's using those layers. Right now, when she uses the layer, she's working backwards. So the front is that first layer that she laid down. And then from there, each layer was going behind the front layer. So you'll understand when she pulls it out, you'll be like, oh, now I get it. I did
like it's upside down.
Yeah.
It's like it's upside down on the mat. And even if you're not painting into those, see, I'm just doing this coming around. So I got 1, 2, 3, and we're going to put, and this is so easy that it's so easy. So I'm going to offset this one, push you in there, get in there.
Yeah. Dave, can you move the camera a little bit? There we go. Or, okay, she moved her hands.
Yeah, I get looking at it and go, oh, I think, okay, I'm not in the camera. What's wrong with you? And you can adjust that around. And I'm just going to bend this a little bit so it fits in there.
So Marissa did put up the link for y'all for those little beads that Jessie Anne used. The link's in there, and she did say if you mention the FlexFrost demo that you saw tonight, then she's going to throw in an extra color for free. Woohoo! Love free, right, guys?
Free.
Free is good. Free is good.
Free is good.
And then Simi mentioned, because I mentioned about those classes, she did say that those classes are coming out next week, I believe. Yeah, she'll be releasing it, releasing Simi Spring online classes and the Spring Season Pass next week on Simi Cakes. So be sure you check that out. I'll put the link, simicakes.com.
Great classes, wonderful classes. Yippee-yi.
Yeah.
She has summer retreat. Sydney has a summer retreat. Is that what she's talking about?
No, she has. She's launching all these classes, and there a bunch of them coming. She can speak more about it, but you definitely. Sydney's an amazing teacher.
Yes.
We're fortunate enough to have lots of good teachers like Jessie Anne tonight, and many, many more. But we don't get her to come on as much because she's crazy busy. But we're going to get her on.
And she got married.
Huh?
She's married. She got married.
Yes, she did get married. She did get married.
So all I'm doing is wrapping the floral tape around there. And sometimes I leave it extra long, just depending on what you're going to do with the flower. Now, if you watch this now, I can just take this and bend it. Bend it. Bend it. Bend it to whichever way I want. And there you have it. That's FlexFrost. And it only, for one sheet, and I didn't even use the whole sheet. You can use like a little Tylose in there. You could also use any other hardener if you want, but Tylose is so cheap, it's just, you could actually make it yourself if you read the ingredient on it, but I'm not going to do that because people sell it. So, and all it does is it doesn't take away the movement. Oh, you still have your movement. So, and also what I was telling you earlier, I took one of her smart sheets and put it in with my leftover FlexFrost, and I had FlexFrost equal parts of all my trimmings, and I was testing it out to see how it would do. And it got a little dry, so all I did was take a dab of glycerin, like not even a full pipette of this, and put it in there, and it worked just fine on the making the lace. So you can adjust what you have. My thing is to use up the leftovers of your other sheets along with FlexFrost, but just if you're using it for material for, let's say, your busks and your dolls and your draping around a cake, it just goes on there like lickety boom. And it works just fine. I can't carry Nicholas Lodge's cake out here that I did at the competition, but it's still standing out there in my studio, and it's draped with the black and all the lace underneath it, all the green lace. So in that way, it's so versatile that people need to really see. Now, the other thing I want to show you is if these come out of here, you just do it very gently. Gently. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you see they're stretchy, kind of stretchy, and you might say to yourself, oh, well, yeah, I just did break it. I don't want. You can fix it afterwards. So it's still a little damp on the inside. So what I do is I just take it out like this, and I turn the setup part down and let it dry for an hour or so, and they pull out just lovely. If you're not comfortable with that, then you just put it back in your dehydrator or leave them sit out for a little longer, and you've got these. If you have a petal mold, you can do that with that too. And I'm going to show you some molds.
Okay. We have a couple of questions. Taisha wants to know where you got your flower mold from.
The flower mold? You mean it's a leaf? It's a leaf. It's actually made for leaves. I use it for a lot of flowers though, because that's what I do. And I use it for Isomalt too, and mostly Isomalt. But I think that you can find them online from different companies.
We have a very simple one.
I've seen Sydney use something similar to this too. So you might want to look in the stores online, like Amazon and different places like that. but they're not expensive. But you have to, like Deborah was saying, you have to get silicones that are, if you're using Isomalt, you want a good silicone mold.
Yeah.
This one here, I have tested it for Isomalt, and that's what I used it for originally. And I've had it for a while. So you can look online and look under the stores. This is just a cheapo thing that I got out of maybe Hobby Lobby or somewhere. And I made some bark out of your FlexFrost. The black is underneath. And then I let it dry in the oven enough that I put the white over top of it. And what would you use it? You'd use it for a camping scene or bark around your cake. And this one is just some old cheap thing that I had for the kids in the kitchen and for kids that come here because they like to make all this kind of stuff. And this looks pretty cool on the side of a cake. That's another. I did use a little Tylos in that. So I'm just going to show you these images. So you see how that can take a 3D.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
This is FlexFrost, okay? And it's set up. Now, also because we had a very moist day a couple days ago, we had our doors open, and it can take on a little bit more flexibility. But once it's on the cake, it's not going to go anywhere. And then this is bark that you can, want a little more moisture in it, all you do is spritz the back with a little bit of your paper potion, and you can paper potion here and put it on here and it'll stick. If you didn't want to do that, you can use like a little Crisco, or you can use water. It all works. These images here, this is just plastic and makes a brick wall. This is FlexFrost. Oh, wow. This is FlexFrost. This has to sit overnight. And you might want to do it a little neater than I did it. I just did it quick. But you see, you can do both sides. Both sides is a brick wall that can go onto your cake and do it any color. This is a color that I had already mixed. These are other, just pick up somewhere this, if you fill that with your FlexFrost and let it set up, you can peel it out of there and you have that image. These are like rocks. You can make one with that. And this one's a little larger. This is one that I just did, and I colored it.
Ooh.
And it gives you, walls or jungle. You can, another one. These you can't put them in the oven, so you let them sit overnight, and they peel off. And these, I have a lot of them because I used to work with the children. And this is another one that a lot of people use. This, beautiful. I make little bows out of this, and I'll show you that in just a minute. What I do is I take it and I wrap it this way, just like that. And I put a little water there and stick that side, and then I make another one on the other side and stick them together. And that makes this little guy here.
Nice.
Oh. And that's beeping now, so I'm going over there to get it out of the oven. And I'll give some of these things to my husband, Dave, to put over on the counter because I think everybody got to see that, right?
Hey, Kathy Lorenzo has a question. Have you tried making the flour without the wire? Could you just put it together with the Isomalt?
Yes, but I put it together. Yes, I do. I leave it sit after it comes out of the mold. I turn it upside down and let it dry on the other side. And then I just take I use Isomalt. But you can use little Honey's glue, and you would start, here, I have these. These will show you. So like if I was making, these are just plain white. So I would put a little glue here and a little glue there and then another little glue there.
Hey, push
And,
the button again.
oh, I'm
He needs to
sorry.
push.
What
No, we're
happened?
looking at you, Dave. We're looking at you. We need to turn the camera down.
I do
No,
have the camera, but is something
no,
wrong?
Dave's the problem. Dave, fix your camera.
The camera's not on, Dave.
Oh,
Yeah, it
My
is.
camera. Just one moment.
It's the wrong camera, Dave. Wrong camera.
yeah.
It's the camera on the iPad or the iPhone or whatever is not on that arm. That's looking at you now. Hi, now we're looking at you. You got to switch the camera to the one you were playing with before.
Yeah, just got to figure out how to do this. It's time. There.
Hi.
There we
Get
go. Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay, it takes a minute. New technology. So what she was asking is, you see how flexible they are? You would take a little glue and put it there, or I use Isomalt and put it there. And I would have a fan. I would hold it up like here, not down there if you're using Isomalt, and then another one in front of a fan, and then keep going until you got your base. And then you can set these up like this in the middle without having to use a wire. You see that? Glue, 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 and then set it in. Once it's all glued together, you can set them up, bend them whichever way you want, because they're still bendable. And then you can just attach it like that to your cake. Did I answer your question?
I think you did. I think you answered
Okay.
it.
Now let's see if this little rig will come off of here.
So when I pull it off, I actually flip the mat upside down. Yeah, and I pull the mat away.
Yes. And the reason that you do that is that if there is a little bit of resistance, you won't break your image. You see that coming off? There's still a little gummy there, but don't worry about that, because in minutes that dries.
Yeah, I mean, that's very fast considering you just made it.
Yes, I made a few of them though. When you said, well, just do whatever you want, I went, okay, well, all right then, we'll just do whatever I want. And you see how nice that is there too?
Hey, Dave, can you focus in on that a little bit? Or maybe we'll wait for her to come back.
Okay.
I'm like dying to see it. Oh, whoa. Now, whoever answered that question or asked the question before of why the layers, there you go. So now you're looking at the top of it. So she started with the red, then the green, then the white, then the black.
That's the upside down part that we put the lace, the FlexFrost over top. We put a layer of white. You can see the white that went in around in the vines. And then I waited till that dried. I painted these in. And I didn't put great big blobs in there. That's why I don't like piping it in, because you get a little bit too much in there and it takes longer. And tonight was a demo and I wanted to have it so that it would dry like in 10 minutes. And basically each layer would dry for you in 10 minutes. See?
That's beautiful. And yes, you can absolutely cut that any way you want. You can cut out different sections, like just the flower if you want, or you can cut it into strips. It cuts very easily, see? It's probably a little sticky for her.
No, it's just me, just my hands.
Okay.
Yes, you can round that off and make it into a doily for, if you make macarons or cookies or anything like that, you can cut just that out. And you don't even have to just cut that. You can cut some of the vine with it. And if it's colored, you just put it on top of your cupcake. You can lay it over in the same area with your icing underneath it. And or you can put colorful ones like this, and you can just cut it out into the shape that is along your cupcake or your cookie. It goes right on the icing. It goes right on royal, goes right on buttercream, it goes right on fondant. Not a lot of people use fondant on cookies, but then there are people that do, so you just never know. Now, I don't think that I do have a whole lot more, but I'm not going to do that to you. The other thing I will show you is the flower that I just did. And it's over here. And you see how it's attached?
Oh, wow.
Bing, 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 bing.
Reminds me of, what is it, dogwood? Is that what I'm thinking of?
Yeah, any type of pansy. And if you wanted to, you can take your sheet after you've done it onto your mat, like a full sheet, and just do it on a silicone mat, and then cut the shapes and stick them together. You don't have to use a mold. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, this is great. This is great. Quentin, hey, Quentin Bailey, I haven't seen you for a while. He has used it for making lace sugar shoes. He's a little behind because he probably just caught up. That's just awesome. Lace sugar shoes. That's, oh my gosh. This was amazing. Holy tamale. You had me like glued and
I want to show
watching.
you one more thing that I did with it, and it's an art. It came from you use just paper art, like art, but your FlexFrost works like a charm with it. Okay, this is a wine glass. I just used a wine glass because that's all I had. I have other formers. Like if you have a smaller glass, that's all FlexFrost. And what I did was I cut all circles, all the same size, and you see the black around that. That was the edible marker. And what you do is there's probably about 15 circles, and you can use a smaller glass and smaller circles. You just fold them over like this, and then you take another one and you overlap it to that, put a little water there and it sticks, and you keep going around, and then you keep going layer after layer after layer until you pull it out of the glass and it comes up like that.